It's very hard for me to say. I mean, we'd have to have engineering studies to confirm it exactly.
You have never done that.
No, and that's why, like the wastewater pilot program that you guys are supporting, I think that's a great opportunity because that's doing engineering work to identify and assess, what our operations are and how you would proceed. We need to develop long-term planning to do that. I know it's in the millions of dollars. I really can't give you an estimate.
Sure, I understand. Harry?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor, for being here today.
Certainly.
I heard two numbers, and I'm not sure I understand. At one point in your narrative testimony, you indicated that you had to raise taxes 10% in 2015, and then I just heard 4%.
We raised, in the fall of 2014 for the 2015 budget, we raised taxes 10%. This past year for 2016, we raised taxes 1.8%, but our tax cap was 0.4 because the CPI, the rate for us was 0.4. So we exceeded the tax cap for this current year, and we really exceeded it last year.
Mm-hmm. And that was because of the fiscal crisis.
Exactly.
Do you have an estimate on how much out of your annual budget you're spending on the maintenance of the infrastructures?
I could get that for you. I don't have it right offhand.
Do you typically have a set-aside line for maintenance of these various infrastructures?
We do, and we blow through it every year. I know by the middle of the year last year, our person who's in charge of water distribution, he had spent all of that line, and we had to transfer funds and try to make it work to make more repairs.
Okay. And similar to the question I asked to the previous person, do you share the sales tax with Niagara County?
We do.
And how is your formula?
It's the same type of formula as Mayor Quill's.
Only sales taxes within the city.
Right.
And do you get a certain percentage of those sales taxes?
We do.
But do you know what that is?
I believe it's 2% also. I can confirm that though.
And I should have asked this of Mayor Quill too. Do you know if that distribution formula has been memorialized in state statute, or is it only a local ordinance?
I don't know that.
I ask that because here in Monroe County, because of some of the dynamics of the county and the city, that long before my time was actually put into New York State statute so that the local folks couldn't keep fighting over what the share is.
I will say we've not been fighting over that, and that's one area that is not so bleak. Our sales tax has actually gone up, so that's been helpful for us.
Even with the low gas prices, are you still seeing any?
Because the county is part of it, there's a large outlet mall in the Niagara Falls area, and their sales have been pretty high for the last few years with the Canadian shoppers, so that's benefited us as well.
I'm pleased to say I've contributed to your sales.
Wonderful.
tax,
We like to hear that.
Do you have any comments on the AIM piece of this?
No, I would just echo what Mayor Quill said as well. We certainly would like to see an increase in that funding. The costs that we face every year go up. It's difficult to keep up. For us, we were playing catch up for a while. We're stable now. We're moving in the right direction, but any increase is significantly helpful to us.
Okay. And you're a sister city to Buffalo, if you
right.
will. And the administration talks a lot about the tremendous amount of investment they've made in the Buffalo area, particularly for economic development. Certainly, I used to live in the city. It's an amazing city now, and it was before, but it really has come back. Do you see any benefit on the economic development activity in the Buffalo Billion? Do you see any benefit also making its way to Niagara County and to your city of Niagara?
I do. We do see that. We've got some developers who are interested in Lockport who've purchased different buildings and are investing in our city. And I should say, I'm sorry that was such a bleak outlook on Lockport. It's not as, in terms of development, we do see some good things on our horizon. We have developers who've come and purchased buildings and are doing development that are high-quality developers from Buffalo who see the value in Lockport. We have a very charming canal area, Main Street area that's vibrant. We have a new ice arena, so we're seeing more hockey tournaments. There's a good synergy with Buffalo with that as well. We had tournaments this past weekend and from all over the Northeast, or teams from all over the Northeast. So we have some canal tourism that's definitely exciting. We're restoring the historic flight of 5 locks, which were originally put in 100 years ago. We're restoring them. The state's been extremely helpful in grant funding for that project. And we do have, with the ice arena and the canal tourism, we're excited about new development. We feel like we want to have, we've done a housing study. We would like to have more housing downtown, loft-style apartments, and we'd like to see a hotel downtown too. So we've got a hotel study to support the canal tourism and the ice arena. So I'm optimistic about the future. The hardest part for us really is our infrastructure. Tourism, development, business, and the mood of the city is good. We've got a vibrant, active group, and definitely the problem, I think, with our loss of jobs over the years is tough. When we get new jobs, it's 20 or 30, but when you look at the loss we had with GM, it was significant. So we're not going to see thousands of jobs coming back, but it's smaller numbers, and we're trying to make a comeback.
Yeah, the whole picture of the city of Lockport is a good picture. You're, in a very similar situation with many upstate communities, and that is we have aging infrastructure. It hasn't had the maintenance that it really needed, and now we're getting to a point, when you're talking infrastructure that is decades and sometimes 100 years old, we have to focus on that, and that's why we're here today. And so that piece is bleak, but the rest of Lockport's doing well.
You're right, and I do agree. I mean, the Buffalo infusion has been extremely amazing to watch in Buffalo and the surrounding communities, and it's absolutely spreading out to communities like Lockport.
Good. Thank you, Mayor.
Sometimes we criticize the governor. As a matter of fact, a lot of times we criticize the government, but sometimes apparently the governor gets it right, and we're glad to hear that. Let me just ask you a question. I know in the budget there is revenue that comes from the tribal casinos revenue. Does Lockport tap into any of that?
2015 was the first year that we received casino revenue, and it was in about the $80,000 to $90,000 a year amount. I think we'll see a little bit less than that in 2016. So it's not been a consistent source of revenue. We've just had it the 1 year so far.
Right.
It's certainly not something we can plan for going forward. I know Niagara Falls obviously has a different arrangement on that, but we did get about $80,000 to $90,000 this year.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for everything you're doing.
You're welcome.
And for coming here. How long did it take you to get here, by the way?
Hour 15, not bad.
Yeah, okay, not bad. But still, we appreciate that time.
Thank
and
you.
Your testimony, and hopefully we'll be able to use it going forward.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
Well, we don't always have mayors here. We apparently have people who are the city managers, okay? He uses that running the city, that management style. So we have from the city of Corning, the city manager, Mark Reichman. Rickman?
Reichman, yes, you got it correct. Thank you.
Mr. Rickman, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Assemblyman Bronson. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to Rochester to share with you my views concerning municipal infrastructure needs in New York State. And you couldn't have picked a more beautiful venue here. This is how infrastructure should be built. This is back when the state used to do big things, and I think we're getting back there, and it's important to keep pushing. As the City of Corning's Chief Executive Officer and a past president of the New York State City-County Management Association, I'm well aware of the financial burdens limiting our cities from investing in infrastructure improvements. Over the years, our municipal infrastructure has deteriorated in Corning. We recently completed a study of our street conditions. The findings outline the need to invest $31 million over 14 years to bring our streets to an acceptable driving standard. This amount doesn't include the cost of upgrading the miles of water and sewer mains below the surface. Our community currently doesn't have the funds to support these needed improvements. Instead of investing in our infrastructure, we've reduced our workforce and reallocated funding from street improvements, water and sewer upgrades, and facility repairs to fund mandated pension costs and ever-increasing health insurance premiums. We recognize that governing in these difficult economic times requires new approaches and hard decisions. Both the state of New York and its local governments have a responsibility to provide fiscally sound policy direction and management decisions. In Corning, we've been making the difficult decisions necessary to mitigate the financial pressures we face. In 1997, when I was appointed as the city manager in Corning, we had 131 full-time employees. I reduced our workforce to 115 employees during the 2002-2003 recession. These workforce reductions provided only temporary relief. In 2010, in response to reduced sales tax, state aid, and gross receipts tax revenues, as well as increases in pension and health insurance costs, I further reduced our workforce to 103 full-time employees. These 2 rounds of layoffs are a 21% reduction in our full-time workforce. So we've gone from 131 to 103. We've laid off 21% of our workforce. These 2 rounds of layoffs have certainly had an impact. During both rounds of workforce reductions, the majority of positions eliminated were in the form of direct layoffs, not through attrition. These were hardworking, valued employees that we can no longer afford. In addition to workforce reductions, we have continued to exercise extreme caution in our expenditures. We've renegotiated our sales tax agreement with our county government, reduced the size of our vehicle fleet, and restructured certain department operations to improve efficiencies and control costs. We have taken prudent actions to reduce those costs under our control, but continue to struggle to pay for basic city services while meeting our infrastructure needs. As I mentioned, part of our efforts in reducing the city's full-time workforce was in response to the alarming growth rate of our pension payments. In recent years, the state legislature did create new Tier 5 and 6 pension categories as a means of controlling long-term rate increases. The stock market has experienced strong returns since 2009, which has started to provide a slight relief in the rates themselves. This rate reduction is slowing the growth of our mandated payments, but the city's pension payments are still expected to grow again for 2016 by approximately $50,000. Our preliminary 2016 estimated payments total $1,164,000, which is an increase of 2,291% from our required payment of $48,000 in 2002. In contrast, inflation, as measured by the CPIU for the Northeast region, has risen 34% since 2002. It is likely that the recent turbidity in the markets may limit further short-term pension rate relief and push savings out a few years, delaying our ability to invest in infrastructure improvements. The cost of health insurance for municipal workers is also overburdening local finances, driving up property taxes and limiting our ability to invest in infrastructure repairs. As we all know, health insurance premiums continue to increase at a rate much higher than the Consumer Price Index. In fiscal year 08, our total cost for health insurance premiums and other health-related benefits such as eye and dental care for current employees and retirees was budgeted at $1.8 million. For the current fiscal year, we have budgeted $3.5 million. This is an average annual increase of 10.5%. Our employees and retirees pay on average less than 1% of these costs. Health insurance premiums are estimated to continue to increase at a rate which outstrips inflation and deprives the city of the necessary funds to provide needed infrastructure repairs. For several years, we have made an effort to control the rate of increase for current employees and retirees through negotiations with all 4 of the city's bargaining units. Under the Taylor Law, we do not have the unilateral right to change health insurance premiums. We will have to continue to monitor these costs and discuss these issues in subsequent rounds of negotiations as we try to identify ways of securing additional relief. Not only are municipalities responsible for their own infrastructure, but in some cases we are responsible for the state's as well. The New York Conference of Mayors and Municipal Officials, NYCOM, reports that there are 38 cities that maintain certain state-owned highways under arterial maintenance agreements. We are reimbursed 85 cents per square yard, a rate set by the state legislature in 1987. Our maintenance costs over the last 29 years have risen significantly, but the reimbursement rate has never changed. NYCOM is proposing an inflationary adjustment to $1.80 per square yard to appropriately compensate us for doing the state's work. NYCOM estimates the impact to the state's budget at approximately $11.6 million. There's been much discussion across New York State about the mandated property tax cap, a well-intended attempt to control ever-increasing taxes at the local level. However, the cap did not eliminate any of our significant cost drivers, such as health insurance costs and mandated pension payments. The property tax cap will only be effective if coupled with substantial relief from the onerous restrictions placed on us by the state itself. If we in local government routinely adopt expenditure levels under the cap without meaningful mandate relief and regular increases in state aid as the state provides to school districts, we will at some point face further reductions of our full-time workforce and the loss of services and continuing to delay or repairs and infrastructures leading to its decay. So far I've defined our problems with aging infrastructure in our cities, but let me briefly outline quickly the solutions which are all within your authority to address. First is the property tax cap. If the state legislature is not going to lift the property tax cap or provide the mandate relief that was promised when the governor proposed the cap, at least exempt infrastructure improvements from the cap calculation. If we are to address the infrastructure needs in our communities, we need the ability to raise revenues. The property tax cap does not allow municipality to meet increases in health insurance and contractual wages, let alone invest in our aging infrastructure. The self-imposed 2% spending cap on the state's own budget excludes capital costs. If this exclusion is necessary for our state government, our municipalities should be afforded the same relief. The AIM program. We need the state to restore the cuts to the AIM program as you have done with school aid. This will help alleviate some of the financial pressures we are facing in our operating costs so we can again support infrastructure investment. The CHIPS program, Consolidated Highway Improvement Program. The CHIPS program provides much needed assistance to repair and resurface our roads. This year's state budget included an additional $50 million to the CHIPS program for extreme winter recovery efforts. Unfortunately, the governor has not included this added funding in his executive budget. We ask the legislature's assistance in once again including this additional funding during the upcoming budget deliberations. Fourth proposal is to reallocate unused funds. The $150 million municipal restructuring fund has gone unused, and the $80 million local government performance and efficiency program has been underutilized. The legislature could boost our infrastructure investments by reallocating these funds, along with a portion of the state's bank settlement funds, to municipal infrastructure needs, providing direct property tax relief. And my last suggestion is arterial highway aid that I mentioned previously. The state should adjust the arterial aid reimbursement rates from 85 cents per square yard to $1.80 per square yard for the 38 cities who maintain state highways. I encourage you to reach out to Senator Tom O'Mara, who is supporting this increase, to coordinate your efforts to provide cities with a much overdue inflationary adjustment. It's been 29 years. In conclusion, again, thank you for allowing me to share with you my concerns and recommendations to address infrastructure issues in our cities. These hearings are very important to allow local officials to directly communicate our needs to you, ensuring that the legislature will have all of the necessary information when making difficult decisions affecting local governments. I encourage the state legislature to make needed legislative reforms and budget reallocations to allow local governments the latitude necessary to address their fiscal challenges so we can focus on funding infrastructure improvements in our cities. Thank you very much.
City Manager Rickman, thank you very much. A very interesting testimony, and thank you very much for outlining your suggestions here. Hopefully we could, make a difference. Let me ask you a couple of questions. Exempt the infrastructure costs from the what would that bring, in your estimation, a tax increase to? You go over the cap.
Yes.
How much?
Well, that would depend on how we finance the improvements, but a 1% increase in our tax levy gets me $60,000 or $67,000. That might be enough to mill and overlay a block or two. So, when we cap our ability to raise revenues, we don't have a lot of ability to raise revenues in the first place. So if I raise revenues 2% on the property tax, in the property tax, you're talking maybe $130,000. This cap isn't even allowing us to do that.
So it's a help, but it's not a solution.
It's not a solution. So what we need is there is no magic bullet. We all know that. So we need the ability to raise revenues for infrastructure, and we need mandate relief so we can control some of our other costs. So, if you look at, those pension payments that I was talking about, the pension payments are up, think about this. In 2002, I had 131 employees, and I was paying $48,000 in pension payments. Granted, that's too low. We understand that's not sufficient to fund the pension system. But it was $148,000 for 131 employees. I'm now at almost $1.2 million for 103 employees. 21% less employees, and my payments are up 1.1 million. And so that's 1.1 million that I can't use to pave roads, to fix pipes, or to do the other things that we need to do. So the reforms are really a combination. I think there's some short-term things we can do here in terms of getting us a boost in AIM, reallocating some of these unspent monies, adjust our inflationary rate for these arterial agreements. I mean, I'm striping and plowing and patching the potholes and fixing the traffic lights on state-owned highways, and we're being reimbursed with rates from 1987. And so, we're doing the state's work, and the state isn't even reimbursing us in current dollars. So I think those are some of the short-term things. The long-term fixes are we need to reform the Taylor Law. We need to reform Triborough. That's a big cost driver. And the actions you did take on Tier 5 and 6 will pay dividends in the long run. The rates will come down because of that. That was a very beneficial move. But in the interim, we've got this short-term problem where we need help. We need help to bridge that gap.
You mentioned Tier 6. Yes, I'm sure it's going to help you in the long run, but I remember taking a lot of heavy punches when I voted for that.
Absolutely, and we appreciate the legislature standing up for that. I am sure that is not an easy thing to do, but it's a necessary thing to do if we're going to make these cities vibrant once again.
I will talk with Senator O'Mara in regards to your suggestion here.
Thank you.
And sit down with him. Tom and I go back. We were classmates when we first were elected to the state legislature. It's a frustrating thing. I know for you guys trying to put this all together, it's a frustrating thing for us on our level. Just to let you know, too, every year we seem to be fighting with the governor for the restoration of and the inclusion of more money into AIM, and we're butting heads with him to try to get that. He has the heavy hand when it comes to this, and I'm not criticizing our governor.
Sure.
I am not criticizing our governor. Okay, there is a natural struggle between the executive branch and the legislative branch. That has always been, and always will be. But we're really happy to hear your testimony here, which will hopefully help us in that struggle. Harry?
Sure. Most important question, City Manager, is it Rickman or Reichman?
Reichman, but everybody says it a different way, and it comes spelled in the mail every day 6 different ways, so it's no problem. It's Reichman, but
I apologize.
I'm used to. Oh, it's no problem at all. No problem at all.
I just circled my phonetic spelling of Reichman. So, couple of questions. And I had asked the other two folks. You indicated you just renegotiated your sales tax share with the county. What was it, and what is it now?
So we used to preempt, and then we stopped preempting the 1.5%, and now it's kind of I'll send you the formula. It's a kind of convoluted formula where we receive a base amount. After we receive a base amount, we share in a percentage of all sales tax over that base. In addition, you had asked the question before if any of this is memorialized in statute. So that agreement is a locally negotiated intermunicipal agreement. What is in the statute is our percentage of the county's local 1% option. And so we and the city of Hornell each receive $765,000, and that that was handled through the Ways and Means Committee, placed that in the legislation. So we're guaranteed that 765 out of the county's 1% option, separate from this sharing agreement.
Thank you.
Yep.
Your workforce, 103 employees. How many are members of the bargaining units?
Almost all. So 103 employees. There's me, and there's 11 of us that are not out of the 103. All the rest belong to a bargaining unit.
Okay. And on your pension costs, have you taken advantage of your option to delay payments for future years?
No. Essentially, what we see that is borrowing. It's bad enough that we have to borrow for infrastructure costs. We really don't want to borrow for operating costs. So we've been just slogging our way through it, hoping that the rates, will come down, and we know they will. I mean, we really appreciate the tier 6, and I know that was hard, and we know they will come down in time. It's just in this short run. The governor says you can't raise property taxes. You have to. I'm not going to give you more AIM funding. And by the way, you're going to have to wait for Tier 6 to kick in. What do you do in the interim as you're trying to make payroll and the constituency is screaming for their street to be paved? That's the pickle that we're in.
So I don't disagree with you at all about delaying payments and
yeah.
In essence, borrowing for your operating expenses. Unfortunately, there's far too many localities that have been kind of forced into that situation.
Yeah.
You're fortunate that you've not been. So you gave us the percentage of increase in the pension cost from 2002 to current, which is a very high percentage and very alarming. Do you have any estimates on the most recent years? And what I'm trying to get at is whether or not has the Tier 6 kicked in at all for you?
It's a little bit deceptive. So the rates have started to come down, and you'll see, I'll send you a chart. You'll see a blip where we went up and then we came down, but it was because we were settling up a contract with our PBA. We'd been in arbitration for years. We had to pay a lot of back wages, and then a year later we got hit with a high payment. This year, our pension, so that's kind of washed out of the system. This year, our pension payments are going to go up about $50,000. Now, so the rates are working. They're only going up $50,000. I mean, we were seeing years where our pensions, bill was going up $100,000 or more. So I think they are working. It's just going to take a little time to get. We've got a long way to go from to get back down. We'll never get back down to $48,000. We know that's not realistic, but to even get down to the $600,000 range is going to take several years for us to get there. So that's kind of the short-term cash issue that we have, is how do we bridge that gap?
Well, I know the state controller, Tom DiNapoli, is working on this pretty heavily, and,
yes.
and his investments have been doing very well,
yep.
Especially with the economy coming back, albeit very slowly. So hopefully we're going to see some relief in that area. So as I understand your testimony, and correct me if I'm wrong, so we have this sales tax cap. A lot of folks are advocating that instead of having it based on inflation, it's a true 2% cap that gives you more flexibility. But your testimony is, in addition to that, your testimony is let's pull some of those unfunded, mandated items out of the cap, since you don't have control over those, so that frees up the flexibility that you need to deal with the things that are within your operational control.
That's true, and or couple that with exempting infrastructure investment. So if you want to keep our operating expenses at 2%, okay. We know infrastructure is going to exceed that. Allow us to raise the money to invest in the infrastructure. And now the governor himself, he imposes a 2% spending cap on the state budget. He exempts capital costs from his own budget.
Yeah, we exempt capital costs for the state. We exempt capital costs for school districts.
Yep.
Last year, we included BOCES capital programs under the exemption, so it's certainly something that we've done in the past. Many of us, I can share with you, I've been advocating for this, to pull out the pension, the health care, infrastructure, I think is included in the capital stuff.
Yep.
We should be pulling that out. Any other, and I emphasize unfunded because I have this debate with people all the time about what mandates really are.
Yeah.
But true unfunded mandates, anything else you think we should be pulling out of the cap? I mean, I know these two, the health insurance and the pensions are the real cost drivers.
Yeah, and I think I could probably go back to my staff and find you a litany of them, but they pale in comparison to those. I mean, those are the big cost drivers that we've got to get our hands around.
Last line of questioning, if I can find it. I love it when people are asking for more money when they find sources to come up with that money. It makes my life a lot easier. But I'm not really that familiar with these two funds. Perhaps the chair is. But the Municipal Restructuring Fund,
Yes.
not being used, $150 million. What is that fund supposed to be for, and why isn't it being used?
Okay, so the governor last year included $150 million in a municipal restructuring fund that was intended to provide incentives for us to consolidate units of government. Yeah.
Fund. Gotcha.
Consolidation, there's so many barriers to consolidation. People talk about consolidating, but, let me just give you an example. It's hard for me to consolidate with another unit of government when they're in different bargaining units and union members have exclusivity to duties, because of the Taylor law. So, the governor says consolidate, but then he won't lift the barrier that's standing in front of me. I'm glad to consolidate if somebody knocks down the barriers. So that's what that money was for. And if you look in the Assembly Yellow Book, you will see that he has proposed reallocating the majority of it to downtown redevelopment.
Right.
And so, again, I think that's another issue of picking winners and losers. You pick one downtown per region economic district, gets $10 million. And so in our case, most likely it'll go to Elmira or Binghamton, and the rest of us in the southern tier won't get any. A better use of that money would be allocate that to AIM or allocate that to infrastructure repairs.